Hello and welcome to this game review. So in this one, you won a few pawns and then stabilized the position quite well and ended up winning without much counterplay. So this was a very good game. So there's not too much to learn from it, but we can have a look at what you did very well. So started as the French, advanced French, and knight h6. This is an interesting variation. And after a3, the blue-black knight goes to the best square it can on f5 and b4. Now bishop d7, and almost all the pieces are developed. They're all on good squares. And here b5 was a very nice move, fixing the pawn on b4 to attack with a5, and also using the tactical point of knight e5, after which exchanging these bishops would be a good achievement for black. So bishop d3, knight e3 and a5. This is a very good pawn break. The alternative is f6 when we have the unopposed dark squared bishop, but here we have used a lot of moves and not developed, so this would be a bit more risky. But a5, all the pieces are on the queen side now, so this makes sense. The pawn is attacked. And white plays queen b3, but this doesn't even defend the pawn on b4, so this did not really achieve anything. So now black wins a pawn for free. Instead, white should have finished development with knight c3, and at this point, of course, black is still a pawn ahead, but he still has to develop the pieces, and if white has time to pick up the pawn, then the ensuing position should be more or less drawn, though of course black is slightly better due to the bishop pair and the better structure. After queen b3, this is simply a pawn as the rook is hanging. And after bishop b5, knight takes e5 is played, winning the pawn due to this yo-yo tactic. Here, the engine suggests simply finishing development and taking on a3 at some point, because black will have a strong passed pawn. Another idea is knight e5 to c4, but knight e5 makes sense. And here, white's only way to survive is to find a not so obvious knight c3. Now, of course, you can't take, because the bishop would hang with check, and now the bishop is attacked, which gives white enough time to finish development and get castled. For example, bishop d7 castles, now f7 is attacked, so white has quite decent compensation for the piece here, as we are not developed. Black should be winning eventually if he gets developed, as after all it is a piece up, but the compensation is quite serious. Instead, what happened in the game was knight e2, and now white cannot get this rook into the game. After queen e5, black is more or less winning. We could be a bit more precise with bishop d6, because now this is quite a serious threat to take on e5, get rid of the only active piece, and then attacking these two weak pawns, for example with queen g5. And mainly we want to castle the king, as if we get castled, then we are guaranteed to be winning. So queen a5 is fine. We take this pawn. Knight b1, bishop b4, not allowing knight c3, and also developing the bishop. And here, f6 and castles. So and castles is maybe slightly inaccurate, because white will be able to pick up this pawn. Instead, we can stabilize fully by putting the pawn on a2 and the bishop on c4, after which our passed pawn will be a winner. And of course, once we get castled, the game will be completely over, as white will have no more counterplay. But here, after castling, white had one small trick, knight a3, with the point that if you recapture, then after rook c3, white will actually pick up this bishop, and our passed pawn has been eliminated, which is quite unfortunate. Instead, here bishop a4 should be played, but this is not entirely obvious. Here black is winning because of the restricted pieces, for white especially this knight, but finding this over the board is not very simple. So instead we could have probably put the pawn on a2 and to not allow all these tricks. After all, after castles, knight a3 is the only capture in the position, but the opponent did not find this, and now this is quite simple. Now we have two pawns up, and black did not pick up this one. So now what you did was very good. Activate the pieces and start exchanging stuff. Rook b8. And this was played, but at this point this is a hanging knight, which we could have just taken. But okay, bishop b4 and bishop a2. So now we start trading stuff. Bishop c3, rook b2, and eventually we exchange the queens, after which the game ends quite easily, as we promote to a piece, and we're winning with a bishop advantage. So this was quite a clean game, and the stability was there. And after winning the material, white did not really get any chances. So well done, and hopefully a lot of our games are like this.